All right, we'll go ahead and call this January 22nd meeting of the Moines area MPO. Our first item of business today is a vote on the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved by Altoona, seconded by Moines.
Moines gets everything.
A lot more numbers.
We're here.
Of course, Scott. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. Moving along, item 3, we'll vote on the approval of the November meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second. Moved by Altoona and seconded by Moines. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting minutes are approved. Item number 4, public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment today? All right, no public comment. Our next item is a consent and vote. And if you have questions after the motion, we'd be happy to answer them. Entertain a motion.
Approval.
Sorry. That's something new. That clock.
It was reading something, sorry.
Moved by Clyde, second by Marquis. Any questions on the consent? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Consent is approved. On the presentation, we have the Moines Industrial presentation. Looks like we'll start off with Gunner.
Just going to start by saying that the Des Moines transloading facility, now known as Des Moines Industrial, was a dream that was born out of the MPO more than a decade ago. Started as an idea to take a site that was currently owned by the city of Des Moines at the time. It had some very unique access to multiple railroad lines. Today we're pleased to have with us Powell County, who's the CEO of Des Moines Industrial, to speak about where they're at today. They are moving a lot of materials in and out and having a real impact on the economy, which is everything that we had hoped would happen. Are we ready?
Great.
Moines does always get everything. This is another thing. Yeah. I'm part of the problem. I apologize. We don't. They can just pile it on. This is what we're.
Yep, on the right. Nope, sorry. Button to the right.
Button to the right.
There you go.
Okay. I'm Paul County. I'm one of the owners of Des Moines Industrial. Gabe Claypool, my 50/50 partner, and a huge reason why we've had the success that we've had to date. We started this thing 2019. Gabe doesn't believe me. First, I got a phone call from Joe Gata, and he was my first phone call to put this project together. So what we didn't count on was COVID, caused innumerable problems for us and others getting this thing off the ground. But we did go live in 2021. And we've always couched this project as a public-private partnership. It would not be here if it wasn't for the Iowa DOT, the City of Des Moines, and obviously the MPO. The MPO secured bulk of the funding on the front end, build grant, and for, I can remember, better utilizing infrastructure to leverage development. So what we built, what we ended up on, 40 acres. I've always said this is the location for 1 mile, 235, the only rail-based transloading facility in the country that connects to 4 different railroads: BNSF, Iowa Interstate, NS, and U. It's all shown. So phase 1, what we completed was 15,500 linear feet of track and giant warehouse, 115,000 square feet. Phase 2, which we have not started yet, but we have great ambitions after receiving preliminary terms of approval in the city to build a very large cementitious facility, which basically silos that hold cement, fly ash, and other products that can go into concrete. So this is our footprint. 4 different railroads, get NS and BNSF, that one connection right here. Interstate Railroad right here, through what's called a reciprocal switch, get Union Pacific right here. warehouse, office. This is where we're gonna build cement terminal. This is where we transload and store aggregates outside. We also store aggregates up here. Our big beautiful warehouse. We have Ziegler Caterpillar as our tenant, whose headquarters happens to be in Altoona. Thank you. You come into our warehouse, it's full of engines and generators. The Ziegler Caterpillar Power Systems division. So basically, these engines come in to our facility inoperable and then leave operable. Anywhere you see the pink rock or ballast, you track it. We put on this facility. So, like I said earlier, it's 15,500 linear feet of track. We don't know how many rail cars we can hold on here because we've never maxed it out to that facility, but it's definitely in the hundreds. So this is the north side of our warehouse, and I believe this is fly ash being transloaded. These yellow cars are full of drywall, which came in from Mexico. So this is bananas. This is an excavator that they built a ramp. It's up on top of gondola cars that are open, and it crawls from car to car to car, unloading aggregates. So riprap, bedding stone. You can either dump it in a pile, put it in our dump truck right there. Traditional way for a facility like ours to transload, and again, transloading all it means is you're moving a product from one form of transportation to another. For us, train to truck or truck. This is what's called an RBT, stands for rail barge truck. So the hopper car belly dumping into a conveyor. We build piles of this stuff. Those various customers that fly ash and limestone, two cornerstones what we do. We'll come back to limestone in a minute. But when it's busy construction season, you have multiple RVPs, trucks getting loaded, loaders going back and forth. It's a lot of fun in July and August here. Seasonal, so it's pretty slow right now. Organic grain. Iowa is the largest organic grain producer in the country. So we have a partnership with the largest organic grain broker in the world, Sunrise Food. And I think we translated somewhere around 300 rail cars this year with them. So it's a pretty big deal for us. Magnesium chloride. This stuff probably goes to some of your communities for dust suppression. Bring in these tanker cars from Utah, I think Great Salt Lake. And then we translated these trucks. Our customer, Heffron, truck goes out and spreads the mag chloride for dust suppression. And you is for ice. Some of the international things that we've done, these blue rail cars pull potash coming in from Canada. Like I said earlier, this drywall is coming in from Mexico. On the western side of our footprint, which is actually land that we lease from Iowa State Railroad, where we do a bulk of our transloading for aggregates. We have to date, I transload about 6 different types of aggregates. Most of it's going to the construction and or road paving world. This is where we transload quicklime, which is very close to where we're doing aggregates. So it gets busy, yes. But this quicklime, which I'm going to come back to also, is impacting every single person. The historical roster, these are the 15 things that we've done. The black, active right now, some of in red we have not done this year. You know, there are a few surprises out here for me when we started this project. I thought we would be doing a lot of lumber and a lot of stuff like rebar, very little. The market just has not gone that way. We get asked a lot, how does what you do manifest in the real world? And Gabe uses a great line, but anything we do, you're not going to see on the shelves of Target or Home Depot. But for example, 2025, we moved 80,000 pounds of aggregate that built 80 miles of new 2-lane asphalt road. But I guarantee it happens. Each one of your units. Potash. So 1 acre of potash needs approximately 125 pounds of potash. 1 acre of land, excuse me. So that's 22,400 acres fertilized. The organic corn is on the East Coast for chickens. So the statistics we came up with are each chicken gets about 11 pounds of corn. We produce 6,400,000 chickens for this facility. Scrap metal, another one of our anchor customers, second largest customer, it's over 66 million tons of steel out, for example, could have produced in that category 30,000 new vehicles. So the quicklime is big. So this is coming up from St. Genevieve, Missouri, and most of it is going to Des Moines Waterworks. So, but with the other water treatment facilities that we service, our math is 1 in 3 Iowans gets their water, excuse me, cleaned through Des Moines Industrial.
On the deregulatory agenda, there have been a lot of proposals.
2022, we went live. 235 rail. 2023, 1,051. So 347% year-over-year growth. 2024, 1,743, 66%. And this year, excuse me, last year was our largest year ever, 2,389, totaling almost 5,500 rail cars. So I didn't put the slide in here, but I'll give you guys a couple more statistics. Still, 31% of those 5,400 rail cars that we transloaded were aggregates. 16% were scrap, 15% lime, mostly going to Des Moines Waterworks, but also can be used in soil stabilization, which is now is in the market. 13% of our volume is the cementitious products that we talked about, so fly ash and or cement. Then from there, those are our top 5 customers, and that's 87% between those 5 using product that have been transloaded through Des Moines Industrial. So we are very much looking forward to phase 2. Hopefully, again, coming to a planning and zoning commission and city council near you soon. But we'll know more about that. Happy to share that publicly, in the coming months. Happy to take any questions, and don't be afraid to pick on Gabe too.
How are you guys paid? Paid by the customers getting the product, or paid by the rail?
Paid by the customers, usually on a per ton basis. Every commodity is different.
We don't take title to any of the products coming through our facility on purpose. That's a lot of risk to take on from a capital perspective. So there's millions of dollars of product coming through there. So to Paul's point, it's absolutely, we're getting paid by the client, but they maintain the relationship with railroads, with their client, water, also to try to support market value.
Do you see a benefit of finishing the Southeast Connector and getting bypass into interstate?
Yes, is the answer. So Southeast Connector has been a benefit to us on a number of levels. Our aggregate customer is providing 3 different types of aggregate for that project. The bedding stone, called 3/8 chips, and I believe riprap. So those are the types of things we really want this facility to be shining on with related to. So there is no big ask out of us to at least keep us in mind when thinking about some of these projects for this community, because we want to be in the middle of them if we can. Carl.
For the grain handling, do you have to use specific equipment on that, or can you just use anything else within that?
We use a very simple, what we call universal conveyor, and it looks like one of these RPTs, but it's just got a red metal tube. You would see something similar to that just about any farm.
But dedicated for organic grains? I'm going to give you a softball here.
Yeah, well, it can be used for a number of things, but we have used it for a number of things. We use it for organic soybeans. We've used it for cover crops, and I think we've even used it at times for aggregates when something else is broken.
We have to go through a USDA certificate process, make sure it's sealed and ready to go from an organics perspective. So there is a process we have to follow, but to Paul's point, it could be at my dad's farm in Northern Iowa.
All right, any other questions? Paul? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks for everybody's support. forward to continuing to make this win for this market. Yeah, thank you.
Moving on, we have a important vote in the fiscal year 2025 audit. So for Dylan.
Thank you. We have this Robert from our auditing company. They have presented the draft audits to the finance committee in February. And the executive committee to go to approve.
You think you don't want to spend 15 minutes going through the audit report with me?
Man, I've been through things with you 1,000 times.
Again, my name is Robert Anderson, partner with Denman CPAs, and I will keep this very short because you have had several reviews of this document already with subcommittees and with staff. Here is the audit report, though it is a beautiful 47-page document. It's a real fun read. Again, I'm not going to dive through it with you this afternoon, other than to point out we do have unmodified opinions, clean opinions on these financial statements, the highest level of assurance our profession can provide regarding the accuracy of these financial statements. A couple of quick highlights you'll find within those financials. The MPO is ending the fiscal year ended June 30, 2025 with a fund balance of about $950,000. Total revenues for the fiscal year were $13.1 million. That's being driven in large part by that water trails project. It's a very big project that MPO is the fiscal sponsor on. So a little bit unusual as far as revenue and expenditures this fiscal year because of that water trails project. Along with our work getting that opinion on the financial statement, all the testing and assurance that we're providing regarding the financials themselves, we do have some work we do related to the federal programs, significantly federally funded. We are issuing an unmodified opinion on those scheduled federal expenditures. We're testing compliance with those federal awards as well. We did not identify the non-compliance with your federal awards. And then finally, we have some responsibilities to gain an understanding of your internal controls and test the control process around your federal awards. We have one recommendation there related to financial reporting, which is one that's been there for a couple of years. Staff continue to make progress on that very complex set of financial statements that staff have to work through, and we continue to see progress on that. You'll see that recommendation in the back of the report, and also staff response to that recommendation. Again, that was all I was hoping to share with you this afternoon. Happy to answer any questions on the audit report, but again, it's been through a very heavy degree of review already. Many members of this room, along with staff. But again, can I answer any questions from you this afternoon?
Question. Dean. All right, then moved by Altoona, second by Joaquin. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Well done. That was impressive.
Opposed, same sign. Moving on, we have an important vote, the regional state performance target. Mike Mark. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so every year since 2016, the Federal Highway Administration has required us to provide safety targets for a rolling 5-year time frame that include number of fatalities, the rate of fatality, the number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries, and then finally the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So just a little bit of background. In September, the Iowa DOT established their statewide safety targets for the period 2022 to 2026. This is calendar year. So that'd be that 5-year average that you see there. And then the MPO has 2 options. One, we can support the statewide targets, or we can set our own regional targets. Based on the MPO's adoption of the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, we recommend we're setting our own targets, so it's what we developed. Just to note, we have to do this by February 27th. So here are the staff prepared regional safety targets for the period 2022 to 2026. Note at the bottom there is wrong. I'm sorry, your packet is correct. So we've slightly adjusted these so that we're on target with our Vision Zero Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. I'll show you those in a minute. But that's just showing us how we're potentially going to progress in the future. So for fatalities, here's what we've done. We looked at the observed, which is the bars, the observed number of fatalities year over year. And then we've included the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan trend lines in that blue line there, decreasing after 2025. And then the Vision Zero target, which builds off of our previous performance measure targets, that's the red line.
And then our previous performance measure goals, targets that we were supposed to report, those 5-year averages are shown purple dots. And you can see that generally what we've been doing is following the DOT's targets, which for us track upward at the regional level. And then last year, we decided that, again, in line with the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan and the Vision Zero target, to pull that downward a little bit in line with our Vision Zero goal. When staff was looking at this, we realized that our Vision Zero goal trend line is actually higher than what our Comprehensive Safety Action Plan trend line was or is. And then additionally, in 2025, we had a very positive year for fatality, large reduction for a number of reasons. So our recommendation is that we actually set our 2026 target in line with our Comprehensive Safety Action Plan goal.
Mark, it's another role item, 2025, 1% lowest amount of fatalities in Iowa.
Yeah, then the period that we've started tracking fatalities, which is 100 years ago. So a number of factors went into that. Motorcycle fatalities were down. Multi-vehicle or multi-fatality crashes was down. So a number of these things were moving in the right direction this last year. And we're hoping that we can kind of build on that with the hands-free rule and all that. Yeah, great progress across the state and in the region. So very similarly, I'm not going to rehash everything I just said because that was a lot. But we did the same thing for serious injuries. The only thing you'll note about serious injuries is that the Vision Zero and the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan trend line, actually they fall in line together moving forward. So again, we say let's set the target for 2026 on the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan target. And lastly, we had our non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. Looking at non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, you can actually see that fatalities were down slightly in 2025, but the total was both still up a little bit. We don't actually have a comprehensive safety action plan recommendation to get to zero for non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So we use the Vision Zero trend line that we developed, saying how do we get from 2025, 2026 to 2045. That's where we set our target at, that triangle there, which leads us to these wonderful numbers. So these are the numbers that staff is recommending be approved and submitted to the Iowa DOT to be our 2022 to 2026 performance targets for safety. Any questions?
Move to approve.
By second by Butterhill, or any questions, Marcus? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Performance targets are approved. Thank you, Marcus. You're up next. Talk about paved streets for all parts of the grant.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so some great news on the progress of safety. USDOT awarded the federal fiscal year 2025 awards for Safe Streets and Roads for All program on December 23rd, 2025. And we're happy to announce that the Des Moines area MPO received a partial award totaling $4.62 million. And this is primarily for supplemental planning activities. So you might remember that we had kind of three categories or three solutions packages that were developed in our grant. Solutions package 1 is this area to the left here. Those are all the construction projects that were identified by member communities through consultation with staff of the communities. And then solutions package 2 is our planning activities. 2 of them are community-driven projects. 3 of them are regional safety plans. And then a third solutions package located down here in the purple kind of merges the two. So it has a roadway safety audit program, which is planning related, and then a low cost countermeasure program, which is infrastructure project related. So we received funding for solutions package 2, and then the roadway safety audit program that we included in Solutions Package 3. At this time, we did not receive any funding for any of the projects that we had proposed in the grant application, nor did we receive funding for the low-cost countermeasure program. So just a quick reminder, when we were developing the grant, we discussed with all of you at the time and the member community match. And what we determined was that member communities will be responsible for the match of any community-specific projects, and that member communities will be responsible for the match for the regional low-cost countermeasure projects and roadway safety audit in their community. So in this case, Tuna still has a project that is getting funding, and then the city of West Des Moines and the city of Blythe have a joint project that's receiving funding, and then the roadway safety audit program is receiving funding. So any projects related to that would have a match that's coming from. For the regional components, and those regional components would be the roadway safety audits, speed study, team training, and then some policy enhancements. Conversation we had at the time about match for those was related to the MPO would take the responsibility for paying that match, which these numbers have not been adjusted based on what we can for partial award, but we can follow up with that once we get further along in the grant. Additionally, we talked about procuring a number of on-call consultants for the roadway safety audit program. We talked about procuring consultants for the speed study, and then we mentioned that the MPO would lead the team training and the policy enhancement efforts. But through conversations, we might end up doing some consulting work on that as well because of staff capacity. And then we did mention to Iowa DOT team training team that we did receive this funding, so that we'll want to work with them and understand what they can help provide support. So what are the next steps? Because I know it's a giant question. When do we get the money? Our next step is to work with Federal Highway Administration on our draft grant agreement, which could take anywhere between now and June or longer. So we're kind of playing by ear. I did receive an email this morning saying that we had updated all the necessary forms to meet our partial grant agreement, or our partial award for the grant agreement. So things are trending positively there. We're also planning to participate in a debrief with USDOT's SS4A team to talk about the implementation projects, those construction projects, and how we might improve the grant application to potentially get funding for those projects in the future. Staff is going to work to identify the first round of roadway safety audits and then have conversations with staff in the member community to make sure that they are able to identify the match requirements for those projects. And then after hopefully all of this goes smoothly, we'll draft RFPs for the consultant services. Any questions on any of that exciting news about the grant award? All I have.
Next, we have a report on the draft public participation plan. Gunner.
Good afternoon. We have a draft public participation plan that is on the street for public review. Public participation plan lays out all of our processes for engaging the public for all things related to the MPO. It's a required document of the MPO, something we update every 5 years. We will include the link to the public feedback into our post-meeting emails so you can share it with your constituents so you don't check. Not a whole lot has changed from the last iteration of this, but it will highlight a few things. We want to make sure that we're being clear on what our role is in engaging the public versus what our members' role are engaging the public. Something that we're going to talk about a little bit more in a second here is we revised our roundtable and committee structure and how we talk about them. We did add an ADA compliance facility checklist. This was recommended to us for our quadrennial review recently, so we're following up on that with our federal partners. Updated links, broaden our toolbox about rate mechanisms, Made sure we were really focusing on, have the comment form on our website really focused. And then just scanning for any updates that would be required in that document yourself to change it at the federal level. No changes required so far. That's a real quick summary of what the public participation plan includes. One thing I want to talk to you about a little bit more, Jeff, because it does have impacts on groups that you have participated in, your technical committee members may have participated in. On the screen here on the left column are the roundtables that we have had traditionally. In the center is what we are moving toward, and on the right are some notes about those differences. I am going to walk through these real quickly. The first one is the bike ped table. This has been a very active group of people talking about bike ped issues. It is kind of bifurcated in recent years where we have two different groups want to talk about different things. One being, safe streets as an active transportation as transportation. So think sidewalks connecting our trails, bike lanes, etc. And then we have the trails, which is the 900 plus system of paved trails that we have in our region. It's a very recreational focused amenity that we have here. And so what we're moving ahead with is a separate active transportation roundtable and trails roundtable. There's going to be a lot of overlap in terms of interest, but we will have separate meetings and separate agendas that are both focused on those two variations. I want to call out the environmental roundtable, and I'm also going to call out the smart cities roundtable at the same time. We've facilitated these in the past, and we're proposing to move toward not facilitating those going forward. And I want to make a distinction here. We're not proposing that we're not going to stop. We're not stopping talking about those or including those as part of our planning processes. We're just going to go to other people where they're managing the tables, where it makes more sense for them to be lead in terms of convening the conversation. We'll be participants in those as opposed to the ones facilitating those conversations. The other one I want to point out is a Traffic Management Advisory Committee, or TMAC. That is being evolved toward a Vision Zero roundtable. Given the real move toward focus on on safety as part of our transportation plan, that is a place where we can ground truth ideas, facilitate conversations, and help move that conversation forward. Last one I'll point out is the Transportation Advisory Group. This group is, think of health and human services component of transportation. We're working with the United Way and the Opportunity Roundtable in recognition of that. That is what I have for the roundtables. I talked about there. Any questions on this before I move on? We've been intentional about having common language here, so there's clear communications between staff, among committees, boards, etc. And one thing that got kind of sloppy is our naming conventions around what's a roundtable, what's a committee, what's a subcommittee, what's a steering committee, what's an advisory group, etc. And so we put up a few parameters just so we have some clarity on it. So when we say one thing, you know what it means, and vice versa. And the two kind of defining questions are: is it an ongoing topic, or is it limited in duration? Is it a specific plan and project, or is it more broad? And then also, is it open, invited, ongoing, or specific? And then you can see what we find out for roundtable, advisory group, subcommittee, or steering committee. So if we're not consistent on this, please call it on it. We're trying to incorporate it and moving forward. That's all I have for you. This is going to come back to you in March for approval as the full public participation plan. And that was our update for you for today.
So back to the last slide where you talked about the environmental roundtable and the structural roundtable, and you indicating others are convening that. Like, so who would be the conveners then? What would that look like?
I want to look to Allison, who has been the lead drafter of our public participation plan, but I think groups like even your own, or I don't have a great answer. For the environment one, yeah, I think and my environmental council. There's a few others. For the Smart City Roundtable, two groups. One is the active trader, which actually the automated transportation for the big one. Application. Obviously, that's not really the state that states the city will staff and so those two, rather than posting something here with it.
Any questions? All right, up next, Gunnar, you were going to discuss fiscal year 2027 Unified Planning Work Program budget.
This is another of our very exciting work program or work documents. This is our UPWP or United Planning Work Program. This is basically the document that lays out all the planning activities, programs that the MPO will be doing for its next fiscal year, which starts on July 1st. This is a document we need to use to justify our use of federal planning funds. It also communicates with you what we plan to do. We do need to submit a draft of this document to the Iowa DOT by April 1st, and the final will be submitted by June 1st. This is not the last time you'll be hearing from us on this topic. I want to pause briefly to talk about the project in FY 2026 that we're trying to do a better job of in terms of these are the projects we have in the UPWP, and here's where we're at with them. We try to do this about once a quarter. I want to draw your attention to the green bars in the center. Those are progress on the key projects within the current UPWP. What I want you to take away from this is that we're making substantial progress on all of these. I think there are some that were slowed down by some recent staff changes, others that have been slowed down by, just the evolving nature of planning. But by and large, we're trending very positively on completing stuff in the 26 work program.
My takeaway is there's 2 zeros up there and they're yours.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
I need to manipulate.
Yes, absolutely. Since you're putting it together.
Because my 2 items are there monitor effect. Well, that's never good. Right? So I don't know how much I'm going to check that box. But good call. Thank you.
Some of those haven't started, like tip is a second.
Sure.
Right.
Whatever you do. Yeah.
So that's not good. There's reasons.
The next I want to talk about is we did do an MPO performance survey, and some of the results from here are going to inform our UPWP. I do want to highlight the response rate was about 25% of our TTC members. Not good, not great, not terrible. So we'll share these with you. Just keep in mind that the response rate was low. So I'm not going to read these at length. I want you to see the red and orange as positive, keep going, rah, rah. And the blue is disagree, we're not so happy with it, or we don't know. And going down to the left here is, does our community incorporate MPO plans and programs into their decision making? Do we involve staff in our transportation planning? Do I understand my role as a committee representative? Opportunities to provide input to the MPO? Is my expertise contributing? Is the MPO heading in the right direction? I do think we got 100% positive remarks on heading in the right direction. 100% positive remarks on TPC means productive use of our time. So I won't read over them, but general overall positive marks there. We asked about specific programs. I'm not going to go into these ad nauseum, but mostly high marks on the various plans and programs that we offer here. Actually, I'm going to highlight one. City data AI has had low marks, and that's consistent with staff's own experience with that product. So we'll be taking that into account as to whether or not we renew that project. We did ask a question that's specific to the funding and review process that is happening right now, and asked about the complexity of the application itself. Are the scores an accurate reflection of advancing regional goals? What would you think of a Revision 0 program? Keystone prior, how much of a priority should we make safety and funding decisions? How are you using funding? Is it early money to leverage additional dollars, or is it late money to close a funding gap? And we're getting mixed responses there. These were shared with the funding review subcommittee prior to this meeting, and will help inform some of the recommendations that come out of that subject. Overall takeaway is, 3.5 stars out of 5. We're doing pretty good here. And I want to call it this quote, thank you for put it in there, was a lot of great changes at the MPO the last few years. A lot of confidence in the staff process and execution of our projects, all-star team. So thank you for that vote of confidence. So I'm going to sort of close the loop here and come back to UPWP. We do anticipate a handful of new activities coming into the next fiscal year. We talked to you last meeting in November about a project coming on board. It's a sprint and slew transportation plan. We'll have somebody on the calendar next month to give you a detailed summary of what that is. We have the Vision Zero Studies and Roadway Audit Program that we've been partially funded with SS4A, so that's going to be new onboarding that. And then the implementation of any recommendations that come out of the funding review committee. That's it for my update. The last thing I'll leave you with is if you have things that you think we should be working on or things that you'd like our services to your cities, please speak up. Now is the time.
Gunnar, I got a question for you. And maybe it's out there for some, but I see where the full self-driving vehicles are now live in Austin, right? And we are planning a lot, as I'm sure a lot of communities are, about on-street parking, off-street parking, parking ramps, and whether it's 2 years out or 5 years out. Obviously we all plan, into the future. So trying to understand whether it's Waymo or robotaxis or something else, the impact that may have on the metro and how we should take into consideration some of the planning around on-street parking, parking ramps, and just other infrastructure impacts. I think that could be something of value. We won't see it probably in the next year or two, but I don't think we're that far off either.
Let's get it, but Dylan, I'll kick it to you because you're more involved in that conversation.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the Autonomous Transportation Council that the state has. We did something a few years ago. We can make it more available. What communities need to consider as this comes forward to us. It's those planning considerations. There's a whole range of things. Your comp plan, what you think about, your site plan reviews, what you think about. So it's been more geared towards the technical audience. So your planning staff, the technical staff know that. Definitely carry that and give an update to that. It's good. But it probably needs updated instead of years. Question else?
All right, thank you, Gunnar. Thanks, your report, right?
Thank you. Over the last month or so, we've been asking for new representative council. Touch on that here in the next item too. But getting into the office selection for the next part here, I'm not going to go into a because the three members of the topic. You want to speak to it? Go for it, team.
Joe, Amanda, and I met his phone call. Went through and we chose these three. There you go.
Thank you. Any questions for me?
So as it says there, next month, the February meeting is when that vote will take place. Once those officers are selected, they will take over March. So, current officers we're down on the vice chair because the vice chair is here. So I think by bylaws, there goes the case on the vice chair and
it does skew towards the larger communities. I would think it does skew towards the larger communities.
Is that a problem?
Not at all.
All right. Thank you, Dylan. Up next is Director.
Thank you. So for the director's report, for those of you that it's been a while or just to kind of reemphasize this, really want to focus on what thing from our future framework that we're doing to implement that strategic plan that maybe we haven't already talked about. So for the first one, there's a strengthening the MPO governance and operations. We have a couple new board members, so I want to point them out. So we've got Mayor Steve from Oak City taking over for Jeff Walters. So this is your first meeting. Thanks for being here. Mayor City of Moines. This is your first meeting. Thanks for being here. Make sure you get to know these folks if you don't know them through other meetings. We have a couple alternate members too as well. So Rob Rowe from Rocky is here. From City of Moines is here. Phil, if you've been here before, but you're filling in today, right? You're not perfect. So anyway, just want to acknowledge we do have some new faces like this for calendar year 2026. Real quick, as part of that, I just want to acknowledge that if you have any board members or just you want us to come out and give an update to your city council or something too, know that that is on the table. I was up the other night to give just a quick, here's what the MPO is so that I know you all do a great job of taking the information back to your peers, but if you want to hear directly from us, sometimes just know that we're available to do that. And then finally, on this particular item, we will have an orientation. We're going to do something a little different this year. Our common pancakes partners. So February 5th in the morning, we will do a pancake breakfast, and you can come and engage with that. Have a little social hour, as well as an orientation, and we hope to get kind of fun and like this is for anybody. So not just the new people,
because we've only got a couple new people. This is for everybody. So whether you're a tech member, policy member, doesn't matter. Feel free to come to that. Tomorrow we will send out an invite for this. So don't feel like you have to write this all down now. You get the advice. Where that'll be good. Staff would like you to know that I will be looking back. So change the item. Okay, moving on. Regional planning and federal elections, things we have to do because of federal requirements, things that kind of are like core transportation mission. It was mentioned a little bit like other federal review committee. The funding review committee. Just to remind everyone, we're taking a pause on federal funding this year, awarding our federal funding. Well, take a look at how well does it work, what changes do you want to make, if any. So that group that earlier today is very said, I will say next month you'll see some scenarios come forward to this full group. So we kind of kept it at subcommittee level. Next month they will come to this whole group, so you'll get to kind of see what those ideas and react to those. There's also been some work going on by the MPO staff on this e-moto issue. So this is the electric scooters, electric bicycles, and other being terrorized by kids all over your town, cycling maybe where they shouldn't be. So we've been involved with that a little bit. I helped like that, which is basically the full county work, where they all come together and work on this too. We will have Chief Requesting for Waukee present to the technical committee next month. So I know a lot of you have heard this at MAC and Biologics and the other things. So we're get involved with the technical committee. That'll be happening next month.
So what's the timeline? We're talking.
Yeah, my understanding, and Alex from our staff, someone who's been more involved, she's not here unfortunately, is that group is trying to get something to go before the legislature this year. Or maybe you have an update.
Well, so there is a goal to get something before the legislature, but there's also a draft set of kind of ordinance concepts that have been sent around to all the cities. And they were supposed to have feedback, I believe, collect the members in January. The goal would be to get a draft ordinance approved this spring for city here in the metro so that we can approach it from a regional standpoint and be more consistent. So your staff should have that. If they don't,
Is that through the back?
it was sent out by Alexa to all of the chiefs and should have been to city administrators. But if you don't have it, let me know.
So moving on there, quick on the enhanced partnership, where the legislative thing fall in. Legislatively, as you all hopefully know, the federal transportation reauthorization bill really the foundational piece of where MPO come from. It's what established MPO fund them, tell them what to do, such as the big markets, what to do, we have to perform target safety. That's the place where that happens. That bill expires in September, so September 30th this year. There's active work going on in Congress right now, both the House and Senate, respective committees that work on this are working on that, and they've said they're going to have some stuff out early in the spring, so March timeframe across the union. It sounds like given that it's a midterm year, they all want to get it done so they can show that they've done something for their election campaigning. We'll see. The Congressional Budget Office has some piece of information on February 11th. They will set a budget baseline for the forecast for highway trust fund revenue, and that'll be a key piece of what they need to kind of finish that one. Although I'm going to be in DC here in a couple of weeks for a conference that's legislative focused, so I can get some more information and set up with our congressional delegation to talk about this, get a better understanding where we're at, what we can get up, move this discussion along so it's to our benefit as much as possible. One other thing underway that gets with partnerships is some housing and transportation planning coordination. We were approached by an organization that an actual organization who works on this kind of thing. And we have in turn started working with DART, County Housing Trust Fund, Capital Crossroads Partnership, to bring in some technical assistance that looks at the innovation of housing and transportation. And those two costs are the highest cost in housing basis. So we can reduce transportation costs that needs to go from the housing perspective, vice versa. So we're targeting half-day training, possibly sometime late March, early April. Dates still to be determined. This will be an invitation for community development, planning staff, as well as elected officials. By
be able to do something on the PC trip through the buildings, people basically see out there, people have a session. On that too. So just want to let you know that that coordination, that partnership is happening. Final thing I have for you is just a very brief update on the future board by alternate corridor study. We do have a consultant under contract now. I think we're meeting tomorrow, and then they'll be a kickoff meeting at some point with more of a state. Get all the documents signed, get them away, but finally set the way.
One thing to note on that is that we've onboarded Iowa State Extension Service to help with facilitating discussion with the farm stakeholders. Really good intermediary who really understands the business side of farm operations. Loves a lot. I really appreciate it. This is probably the oldest house we've had in a lot of months. It's
All right, up next, you have the other 9.
Just one thing.
So you've probably seen that the partnership has scheduled DMDC for the first week of June. We had been operating under the assumption that that trip was going to occur in May, which is what it usually does. And so when we set our calendar meetings for the year, we did it under that assumption. And so this is mostly pertinent for the executive committee members here. We're going to, at their next executive committee member, suggest that we move the May meeting back to the first week of May, which is more in line with the traditional schedule. And then for June, we'll push that out a week. So I just want to give you a heads up. This is mostly for the executive committee members in the room, but that's what we'll be coming to you with next one.
Yeah, nothing. Our next meeting is on 4 p.m. Thursday, February 19th. And most of the I'll move on here. By the way, second by CI.